Welcome to the Clock Hour. Welcome everybody to the Clock Hour. I have another very special guest. I want you to introduce yourself to the people.
Of course, of course. My name is Gordon Lyde. I'm one of my roles, I'm the senior program manager of Hang Time in Waterbury. I also am a substance abuse clinician with DEMIS for the state of Connecticut. I also am in the process of starting my own practice, doing some things with counseling, helping individuals coming home from prison with addictions and stuff to reestablish themselves and give them some insight.
And you know what's interesting? It took me a minute. I met him about a month and a half ago.
Yeah.
It took me a minute to get him here. I don't know if something happened with the stars to get him here because as you see, he's a busy man. And I've been following him for about a month and so, couple months now, and just watching and listening to how they're doing things. The Hang Time, I had her time up here a couple weeks back, and I respect the organization and what they're doing for formerly incarcerated individuals, and they actually get into. They're not promising anything that they can't give them. So what they're doing is getting people to talk and to speak, and the conversations are incredible. I go with them. I think it's every other Thursday, right?
Yes, every other Thursday.
Other Thursday here in Waterbury. I'm there. I'm former corrections myself, but I like going and getting involved and listening to formerly incarcerated individuals and how we can change their way of thinking and stuff like that, because some of the most brilliant people I met in the system.
Yes, absolutely.
You know?
See, the funny thing about that, a lot of times people, they see what I do. And I always tell them, you see the now, but you don't see the how.
Right.
So, and what I mean by that is, my inmate number used to be 217789.
Wait a minute. You said your inmate number.
My inmate number used to be 217789. My last prison bid in the state of Connecticut, I did 9 years, 8 months, and 3 weeks off a 10-year sentence.
Look, hats off to you, because that is a billboard that says you can.
Absolutely. And I got a full absolute pardon, and I'll circle back to how I got to that point. But I got a full absolute pardon, and the first job I got after I got my pardon, I went back into the Department of Corrections to work as a substance abuse counselor in the prison system. So after doing all the time I did, I chose to go back into that same environment and help from the inside.
So let me ask you a question. Do you feel that the system itself, they're promoting that it's over for you once you do or have been incarcerated? Are they promoting that? Because, you know, some people, like the people that worked for me, you know, where I come from, they're all doing pretty well. Mm-hmm. You know, now you're telling me that you went back to work for the same system that housed you.
Yes.
So it can be done.
Absolutely. See, and when I came home October 23rd of 2004. When I came home, there wasn't a whole lot of resources available to individuals coming home from incarceration. But I had a plan, and I was fortunate. I call myself an anomaly because a lot of times you go back, the recidivism rate is so high, and it was even higher back then.
Right.
So I just had a plan and a bunch of hope, and I had a lot of people praying for me, and I made the right decisions at the right time. And it wasn't a smooth transition, but the transition paid off. Now, your question was, do they kind of promote that? Yes and no from an institutional standpoint with corrections. Mm-hmm. Now, are there programs available and resources? Yes. Do they offer them? Yes. However, the system is really not designed for you not to come back. Let's just say what it is. Right. It is not designed that. It is a business, and the fact that the doors stay open 24/7 shows the fact that it's going to be revolving.
Right.
Because now, programs in and of itself, a lot of people say, what is the percentage of programs, success rates? I say they're 100%. every program is 100% successful. And the
Right.
reason why I say that, because a program has one goal, is to present information.
Right.
What you do with said information falls on you.
Right.
Now, I can't base the success of your program on individual choices. I cannot. As long as I give the information, I dispense that information equally, everyone has the same opportunities to reach the same level of success. Again, what a person does
Right.
with that information, plus some other key components, counseling. There's a lot of trauma that goes into going to prison and even before prison,
Right.
dealing with that said trauma, dealing with some of those issues, economical, education. You got to be willing to address all those key pieces in order for success.
So the question I have for you, what would be the hindrance? Patience?
Fear.
Excuse me. Fear of,
The unknown. See, I always use this analogy when I
because you
talk.
did what, 9?
9 in that one.
Right. And that one. What
In
do you
that
mean?
one. Total, I have a little under 20 years in the system
On that side.
on that side, being incarcerated.
So I'm gonna say, damn. All right.
Yeah.
And to where you are now, I follow you, man. I'm like, look, this guy, he got it.
And see, the thing about it, and the reason why people go back is because I always say pain has no memory, but memories are full of pain. And what I mean by that, because once we remove the painful situation, people forget about how painful it is.
Right.
And they go back to what's familiar, whether it's a bad relationship, a job. How many people we know that they always complain about this is a dead-end job, but they
Right.
never leave that job.
Right.
They're comfortable in the familiarity of whatever dysfunction, pain, or heartache.
Easy.
That's more easy to deal with than the uncertainty. If I leave this job, what am I going to do? If I leave this person, what am I going to do? If I don't get out on these corners, what am I going to do? How am I going to do this? How am I going to maintain this? It's the uncertainty that people run from.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Fear.
Yes.
Well, I mean, look, you gave the system 20, like I had Thomas here. Thomas got a lot with him, you know, and to talk about it, it's just holding them there. You know what I mean?
And there's more, there's so many, and
Right.
I call myself an anomaly, but there's so many brothers out there doing the same thing
Right.
that I'm doing throughout the state. You have my boy William Outlaw, June Boy in New Haven. You got Tiger. You have Raymond Boyd. You have a lot of key dudes that did even a lot more time than I did that came out
Right.
with a plan and start giving back. And see, the key to it, you can't avoid giving back, because if you want
Right.
success on this side, we come out with a debt. We owe.
Right. You can't come in this game selfish.
Yeah, because we owe. We took from communities, we took from families, we took from our own lives. And if you don't give that back, if you don't pay it back, you stay stuck.
Right.
So you got to come back and you got to help someone. You owe it. We owe it to them. Because once you were lost in the woods and find your way out, you have then earned the obligation of helping the next man or next woman through that same darkness.
Right.
Because someone guided you out. You didn't get out on your own.
Right. Okay. I get it. And you know, that's fascinating too, because to this day, if I have to write, somebody may contact me, if I have to write a letter or something, I do what I can.
Yeah.
You know, at least try to give back. And that's what this show is about people like yourself coming in and talking to people about what you do and how you got to that point. Because a lot of times I see that people are trying to play gatekeepers and holding that gate, so you're only opening it to certain people, but you're opening it to everybody.
Yes.
Come on in.
Because it's open to everybody. Those that are played a gatekeeper, if you will, that only they handpick,
Right.
is because there's a level of power, in illusionary power,
Right.
I might add,
Right.
in their mind that says they're in control. And it's real sad that your self-worth is so baseboard that you need to the value of yourself is dictated by how much control you try to impart on another human being. I find that very sad.
Big.
I open the door to people. I give what was given to me, because if I'm a success, I help you become a success, and then we all rise together.
Right. And that makes more sense, you know. And to me, it's easier because I'm gonna give you all of this to take my place. That's like even going in for a position when you're doing an interview. You're looking. I used to look at that person like, okay, what do you do? The person interviewing me, I want to do what you do one day.
Oh, I've always said that when they say, "Where do you see yourself in 5 years?" Your job.
Your job. Yep.
I've always said that.
Right. Me too.
Always said that.
And you know, you tell them like, look, they say, why should we hire you? I said, well, you know, I'm an asset. I could do this, and this, and that. What you're doing, you know. So it's just a matter of motivation. And like I said, I come to the meetings and the groups, and the motivation. Most people they never leave how they came in.
No.
Like going to church.
Exactly. So hang time, my dear friend Charlie Grady and Mark Gustafson, they came up with this concept 10 years. It's coming up on 10 years.
10 years.
That they wanted to get individuals together that normally wouldn't talk to each other.
Right.
Because Charlie used to work for an organization that targeted gang members coming home from prison.
Right.
But he realized with all the work that organization was doing, they were still missing a small demographic. So what he wanted to do was capture that demographic and help. So they got opposing individuals from different sides of town, because those of us from the inner city, we know what that's like.
Right.
I don't mess with you because you're from that side of town.
Right.
I don't mess with you.
Right.
In New Haven, if you're from the Hill back in the days, you ain't mess with nobody from the Ville.
Right.
It was just what it was. You inherited a beat.
KSI and all them other little neighborhoods.
So what happened was he got individuals together to have this dialogue. And he found that put in a safe space, people will identify with topics that they have more similarities than differences.
Right.
And it has blossomed. So when I met Charlie a few years back, he asked me would I do hang time. He needed a program manager. So I stepped into that role, not knowing fully what it was, but willing to embrace it. And it's an amazing process because we get men and women from halfway houses, communities,
right.
And we have organic conversation.
Right.
We share a meal and we have a simple concept.
Right.
No one is wrong. Everyone can be right. Because given any topic, based on your lived experience, your age, cultural background, social economic, you have a different perception of any given topic.
Right.
And this is based on the level of respect, we allow people to be who they are and share how they see things, and no one challenges that or says they're wrong.
Right.
And
that makes sense.
Yeah, because we say you will never leave there without learning something. And by me not meeting you, but hearing how you see a certain topic, I just learned something in that moment. I learned how you see said topic. So I gained a little more understanding. I developed this kinship with people.
Okay.
And it just blossoms and grows. It's like a program I've never seen. Let me change that. It's not a program. It's a family. It's a family-oriented. What we do, we're a social navigation platform.
So there is, not to cut you off, sorry about that. Is there an end game? Like, say for instance, people start coming January. Is there an end date to them people that came in January, or is there an end game or anything?
No, once you're a member for life. You can come, it's free to come when you want. We have sessions in Bridgeport every Tuesday at the Burroughs Family Center on Fairfield Avenue. We have it at 100 Legion Avenue, and at the Continuum in New Haven.
That's New Haven, right?
And we have it at 77 Bishop Street here every other Thursday. New Haven is the opposite Thursdays of Waterbury's. And you're a member as long as you want. You can always come back. Sometimes life happens and you can't make it to every session. But there's no jump off point. There's no you're done.
Right. That's what I was looking for.
No, you're done.
You know, I asked Stacy, I'm like, is there an end result, or is there a goal that's set, or is there like, you know, some of the other organizations, they say, well, you graduate and we set you up with X, Y to the Z, and you know.
We will still try to set people up. We'll still try to advocate for people. We'll try to apply resources when needed so they can advance their life. The goal, ultimate goal, is that they become independent, self-sufficient, and then give back for themselves. They can either come back and give back from a volunteer basis, staff basis with hang time and everything, or start their own thing.
Right. Okay.
There's no strings attached to anything that we do. We just want the best for individuals, especially those coming home from incarceration that have that lived experience, because that's a marginalized population all of its own.
Yeah.
All of its own. And we want to show them that there's life after that. Yeah. We're not the sum total of our bad choices.
Right. And, you know, I recommend it. If I come across somebody, I recommend it, because it gives those individuals a place that they can talk about what it is that they may be thinking or feeling or going on. Because when I first came in, the young brother, he was speaking about some things. He was kind of angry. Yeah. Then, you know, some people reached out to him, and he came back in the following week, and he was good. Now he's good.
He successfully completed that halfway house he was in.
Right.
He moved back home to Bridgeport. He's reconnecting with his family. He's established. Okay. He's been at a few other events that we've done with the mobile, Hang Time Mobile. We went to Old Newgate Prison to do a plaque unveiling. He was there. Right. And I believe they're at the African American Museum down in Stratford right now. Right. And I believe he's in attendance there.
He touched me that day. I was, wow, okay, hold up. Let me get a grip and realize what I'm going to be listening to and hearing in here, you know, because like I said, I stumbled on this.
Yeah.
Somebody invited me somewhere else, and they said what they were doing and y'all were doing. I said, well, I'm gonna go over here and check this out.
Because the cool thing about hang time, and I tell people, explain yourself, explain your opinion and your view, how you use your own language.
Right.
I don't care. Sometimes you got to put down a good piece of cussing.
Right.
You got to be emotional. Say it how you say
it. Right. And that makes sense.
And I tell them, talk your stuff. Talk your stuff.
Right.
How you talk
and you
it.
Get them. You get them.
And it's like, there's no right way of saying it. No. Say it how you need to say it, because I want you to get it off your chest, put it out on the floor, and if we need to help you dissect it, look at a few pieces, turn some things around, then we'll do that. Or we'll let it be where it is, because maybe you just needed to vent and get it out there.
Right. And you know what? We used to do, you was at the Renaissance. You did the conflict resolution thing.
Yeah.
Conflict resolution was a trip.
Yeah.
You sitting in front of the person that dropped the note on you.
You got to use I statements.
Yeah,
when
man.
you did this, I felt. Yes. Absolutely.
I thought that was so interesting because, you know, a lot of people don't know how to articulate that.
No.
They may articulate it with violence.
Yes.
But it doesn't always necessarily have to be violence. It could be a conversation.
And the thing I think about it, because most individuals in this culture in which we're in right now, well, it's getting better, but some years ago you weren't shown how to express your feelings and to use your words.
Right.
So it was foreign to say, when you said this, I felt this, because I couldn't put a word or definition to what I was feeling. I didn't know how to articulate. When you said this, I felt less than.
Right.
I felt insecure. I felt belittled. I didn't know what those words meant as far as feelings go, but what I did know was anger. So when you said that, the only thing I said, yo, that pissed me off.
Yeah.
But it really didn't.
No.
What it did, it made me feel belittled and feel less than, and what I went to was anger.
Yeah, it triggered something.
Yes.
Just like, I'm former military, Navy. So you had to learn how to stop. Everything would have, when I first started, I'm going with my fist to explain what I was feeling. So as you come along in the military, you had to learn that you can't do that, because no matter what, if you hit him first, you going down. If you disrespect him, you going down. So you learn to, kind of use your words wisely And see, what I used to do, they had the Uniform Code of Military Justice on the bathroom stall. So I used to sit on the toilet and read it. So, and I tell people, I said, learn the game before you play the game, so they can't beat you at the game.
Exactly.
So I'm sitting there learning the game, so they couldn't beat me.
And see, the thing about it, the key thing to learning how to effectively manage your emotions is learning how to exist in one particular space, that one of patience. See, the problem with most inner city or just anybody, particularly that doesn't have an understanding of that, they're impulsive. Because they feel something, they think an action needs to be connected directly to it. Because I feel something, I do something. No.
Yeah.
That means you're reacting. And I always teach my clients, anybody I work with, the difference between acting and responding. We know how to react. We need to learn how to respond. And the only difference in between the two is about 2.2 nanoseconds. Playing the tape all the way through.
Yeah.
If I do this and do this, how is this going to affect my overall outcome? Now, if I decide after thinking about it that, okay, I can deal with this, the same action could happen, but it's no longer a reaction, it's a response because I thought it all the way through.
Right. And now I'm going to do this.
Exactly, and that's what we have to get to, and I try to teach this all the time, is learning to step back for a minute, be still, and think about what my next move is going to be. Stop playing checkers and learn how to play chess.
Yeah. And
think about, okay, if I do this, there's going to be a reaction coming from there, cause and effect. For every action, there's an equal reaction. So if I do this, something else is going to happen. Is that reaction, is that going to benefit me or hinder me?
Right, pretty much. And I think some of that came with age. And there was people that had to take me in the corner and say, come here, come with me. Because when I first started, there was such an anger from what I don't know, the anger and just some of the people that I was coming across and the different elements that was coming at me. And I'm like, okay, I get it. And you have to turn certain mechanisms off. So here's my response. And it would drive them crazy because I wouldn't respond the way that they thought I was. So like one guy was like, what you gonna do, hit me? I'm like, I didn't even say I was gonna hit you. But I went towards him like I was gonna and walked around him.
Yeah. And sometimes you got to do that.
Yeah, and that felt better because I'm like, I did more damage to him by not hitting him than I did if I would have hit him.
Because he was anticipating. He was ready for that.
He had braced himself and everything.
Because maybe that response was what he was used to. That was familiar.
Right.
Whether he liked the response or not, he was used to it. That's why some people behave in certain way because they know what's going to.
Right.
90% of the dudes, men and women in prison, they knew they were going to prison before they got there because they knew what the consequences for their actions.
Right, and what they were
doing. And
they
accepted that as a viable end result because they're so locked into a way of doing things, they know the consequences is going to be this, and this is okay.
Yeah. Once I get caught, this is what happens.
Yes. Yeah. And they've been brainwashed within the inner communities to believe that that's an acceptable outcome, which is because, I always say this and I can't stand this, that our neighborhoods have normalized and celebrated prison bids over college degrees.
Yeah.
You do a bid, you come home and get a party of a lifetime.
Yeah, you
get a master's degree, they'd be like, good job.
You're a hero.
And I'm like,
I never understood that.
And because our society does that, we have young men and women coming up willing to accept the possibility that this is their future. And it's okay because people will respect me. That's another thing. People don't respect you, they fear you.
I'm in the schools. I do subbing. And you know what I do in the high schools? I sit back and listen. So I went around the room one day and I said, they were on their phones. What are you looking at? They say, Twitter. I say, what are you looking at? TikTok. What are you looking at? TikTok, Twitter is X now. I said, what are you looking at? And then, you know what? And you ask them questions, and they don't have the answers to them, but they have the smart computer in the palm of their hand. I said, so I was in a marketing class, I guess. I said, business. I said, so what are y'all planning on doing when the normal question, when you graduate high school? And you know how many was saying, I don't know?
Yeah. Albert Einstein said many years ago, the more advanced humanity gets technologically, the further they will get away from humanity.
It's crazy.
Because the more we become dependent on a device and not think for ourselves, the less we get away with we get away from our true selves, and we're become more dependent on something outside of ourselves.
Right. I was explaining to them one day, I was at one of the high schools, and I was talking to them. I said, 2018, I went to Central High School in Little Rock, Arkansas, just to see it. I wanted to see it. And, they got all the images of the protesters and stuff. And I was explaining to them, I said, you guys wouldn't be here if it wasn't for those brave nine kids. Yeah.
Those little 9 kids that was willing to go against
scared
all
to death.
kind.
Right.
Come on, how terrifying when you're a little kid.
Right.
In a time where whites were supreme,
right.
How they were presented, and now you have a whole bunch of whites screaming and yelling at you,
right.
spitting at you, and you had to get a police escort in there.
Right. Imagine
that in and of itself is traumatizing.
Right. I made him. The one girl, she looked at me like I had 3 heads. I said, "Look it up. You got a smart computer in the palm of your hands." But as always, man, me and you could go all day, man.
We could do this all day.
I appreciate you. I really do, man.
I will be back. I will be back.
Me and you, we could go. But as always, this is for the people, by the people, about the people, the Klock Hour. And I thank you for coming in, man. I got to have you back because we going to go. I'm going to bring somebody else in, too, so we can keep it going. I'm going to need an hour one day, Al. The Klock Hour. Peace, y'all. See you next week.